Okay, hello everybody. I'm Fanny Heinonen, the program director of Film Tampere, and very excited to tell you that we have had very successful first day of the second workshop of AV Growth program. And I'm so delighted to have this amazing participant today with me at the podcast. So why don't we start with the round of introductions, and then we will dive into the questions. So Marge over there, why don't you start?
Okay, my name is Mariana Auranen and I'm the owner and writer and producer wearing many hats in Red Stage Entertainment. That is a gaming studio in Tampere and we make video games shortly.
Hello, and my name is Kristele Pudanen, and I'm a producer and owner of film studio Sunday Rebel Films. And we are doing feature films, documentaries, and now we also started to do an animation.
Yes, my name is Giulio Musi, and I'm the owner and founder and executive producer of Europa Films, which is a service production company that recently launched.
Fantastic. And for the clarity for the listeners, we have this gaming company from Finland, Tampere, and Kristele represents Latvia, and Julia represents Sweden, and I'm from Finland. So this is very, very diverse group, and we have quite diverse background also as professionals, even we all work in the audiovisual industry. Today's team was, and tomorrow will still be, IPR is the king. And today we have dwelt into the investor's mind. We have looked into the possibilities of gaming and film, IPR, monetizing and legislation and so on. What if we start with the question of what stuck to your mind the most from this day? What is something that really resonated with you or provoked thoughts or brought any emotions?
Now maybe I could start
Please.
first. Yeah. So I heard really worrisome statistics that only 7% of the European films make profit, which is an interesting number, but a really, really small one. And I think that the main kind of takeaway for me is actually that we have to change our mindset, because we are thinking about art and we are thinking a lot about more about creative stuff and creative point of view and storytelling and so on. But we do tend not to think about how to actually be sustainable in a way, that how to use cross-media industries for increase your revenues, for how to use this IP, actually, the potential of using IP. We do not use it usually, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, I can just to jump on that. It was interesting, just Natasha, right? How she discussed, regarding the IP, how you can actually use it in various forms and medias, as they were doing. You know, they created a board game and like different things in relation to the video game. We've been thinking a lot, and you've been speaking a lot in relation to like especially video games and films, and how you can like nearly co-produce them or at the same time in order to up them and create a larger revenue, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so the lecturers were given by Natasha Skuld, who's the CEO of My Tale gaming company, located in Turku, Finland, and Terry Boujard, who's located in Germany, Berlin, who's the CEO of Media Deals. Marge or Mariana, how you want me to?
Marge is
completely fine. Yes, let's be laid back. Marge, from game industry point of view, game professionals point of view, what stuck to you the most?
I got this like sense of kind of optimism and hopefulness after this day, because I come from the film and TV industry. I studied film and television, but we started to put up a game company for some reason. And I forgot how how strict the film and TV industry is on its ways. Like we have done this for decades, and we will continue to do like this for next decades.
Very traditional.
And in games, like 8 years in games now, I've learned, like, I take it as a no-brainer that we continue to seek new ways of revenues and new ways of doing stuff, and it's the constant like renewing the industry going on, and also like cooperating with other gaming companies and finding these places where we can do business together and help each other. And I kind of now see potential of film and television side coming towards game industry, and we might find so much in common there and new businesses in there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I feel like this AB growth is turning into a tribe. I feel like we're a group and strong believers of this collaboration between these two industries. Julia, did you have something in your mind you wanted to add? So please.
Yeah, no. The thing is that we were discussing, which is really interesting, is like the business to customer and how that is. Much more accessible in relation to the gaming industry, because the film industry still has the distributors or also the streaming companies that control a lot in relation how do you reach people and how you get you back your money and your revenue. You're so dependent on distributors within film. In relation that I think it is difficult to create small revenue streams in that sense as you can do in gaming, which I think is interesting and worth thinking about. I don't know how we can implement that, but I think it's something worth thinking of.
Absolutely, and I think that we're going towards that in this program, like actually how, and tomorrow we will actually talk about those on a practical level. Now that I think we all agree on the fact that gaming and games in general, they are player-centric, they are data-driven, and films and television tend to be, well, depending on who you ask, but more like audience-driven that you don't know of, if you could even say so, and not that data-driven, at least from the producer's point of view. You basically live and operate with the knowledge you're exposed to, and sometimes it is limited sometimes. But could you mention some other obvious differences or similarities between these? I cannot even say two industries, because in a way I feel like TV and film also have some similarities if you look at them from financial perspective. But anything else that kind of raised
Just
thoughts?
TV and filming, films or gaming?
Maybe the gaming and traditional audiovisual forms and games.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the big bonus for gaming, that you have this kind of direct contact with your customers and you can get the feedbacks quite early. Also, the production period for the games are much, much shorter than it's for the films, for example. And if the average film production period might be from, I'm talking about indie films, might be, let's say, 1 year to 5 years, then this is quite a long time for this rapidly changing times when the technologies are changing, ways of consuming is changing, ways of technologies we use are changing. So the way how the audience is taking the content, through which formats they are taking the content, so which media they are using. So this is really so changing all the time. And for the gamers and the gaming developers, that's a bit... a plus, that you can go with the time all the time, actually, with the changes and with all the developments we all face. But for us, it is a bit like being behind all the time and trying to jump in the stage of when the film is ready and to release. So how I will distribute it, how I will reach my audience, and how I can get some feedback.
And I guess that the productions are more close, that you don't share too much of information about too early. I think in film and television, there is a time when you like release the information about the project, when a game company can start right away, like, okay, we got funding for this demo and this is the character of the demo. What do you like about this character? What changes would you like to implement if you could, and stuff like that. But I don't see why things couldn't change, like the ways films and TV and all these are done.
Creating a film, I mean, it's just a machinery, which is, of course, also is in gaming, but it's difficult. I don't. But this is just my. It's difficult for me. I made like an independent feature film where we got a lot of free things. So it was like a large production, but the money was small, But I cannot see how I could have made that film with less than 20 people or 30 people, like trucks, and all these things, while being able to keep it a little bit smaller and also more flexible in that sense. When you spoke about an indie game, you can make an indie game rather quickly, and 3, 4, 5 people. I think it's a different type of machinery, and then like how we actually reach the audience. I think the key is if there is another way to reach the audience within the film industry. I think that's an interesting point, because if you can do that, you could be more independent and work in a different way, maybe.
Yeah,
thinking.
And this leads towards my next question, which is about community, because I thought during the sessions that what might be the community for a film and television maker? And I'm not talking about the crew and the freelancers, which of course feels like a family. But when let's say you produce a film, animation, and now when especially looking at Kristella and Julia, your community, what is your community? Do you have a community?
I could say from my point of view, as we are coming from a small capacity country, so we do have this community, we share information, but I must say that this is very different in feature films and in animation, for example. In feature films, we kind of tend to see each other as competitors all the time, because the market is very small. But in animation, and I mean in animation even in European level, we really share information with each other. We don't have this competition kind of way of thinking and mindset. This is quite similar to the gaming community, that we love to share the ideas, we love to share what new technologies and what works, what doesn't, and so on. So this is really plus in animation business, but in feature films, that's a bit different.
Are you speaking about community that buys the product, or the community that creates the product?
That's a very good sub question, and I like that Kristella answered that, because I think that's an obvious one and good. That's very good. But what I'm actually trying to drag out of you is the community that grows around the product, the film or television series itself, because I don't think that is that obvious, or I might be blind.
But I think that's an interesting thing, because I was also speaking to Natasha afterwards, in relation to, but I mean, like with the IP, you can create so many things and so forth, and you can do that with specific IPs, but I mean, like creating a community around like an Ingmar Bergman film, may be difficult. I don't know which characters I should, make like puppies, like I would say, like.
He's a phenomenon.
No, he is a phenomenon,
like
there is a lot of products around him, but there's a lot of. I think with gaming. With gaming and certain type of films, I mean, with gaming a lot, or this is my perception, like you create, it's very specific how the characters are created and the worlds and everything. And in certain films you have that, of course, a lot of films, huge franchises like Star Wars and like, but then I think a lot of, family dramas, which is a large part of the film. It may be more difficult to create a community around that. But I think like in certain IPs, in certain types of projects, like the ones who is making these little children's. What are they called? Ausma, yeah, exactly. They have created a fantastic community around their thing. So I think it depends on what type of project you are doing actually when it comes to feature films.
And
But
how excited are your fans and how engaged
yeah, exactly.
they
But
are?
I mean, we should use it much more. I think it's a really good take on it, depending on which type of project you're actually creating.
Yeah, very important thought. And actually, Ausma was one of the companies that previously joined this podcast. So you should listen to that too. I market this, even this is a non-commercial, but entrepreneurial-driven person, you can't help. But yeah, so we do have fans. If you think about Sex and the Cities or Modern Family or these big shows, they do have families, fans, and community around them. But usually, what tends to feel a bit frustrating for a local operator or European operator is that, well, those are like great American studio production. Not all companies have the access to those or in any part of the production value. But when we look at the indie parts, for example, genre films are really, really coming to the surface and really like succeeding very well, especially in the Northern and Southern America. And I think that this also resonates with what you, Julia, just said, that it depends on the product. It still depends on the product, not that much the industry, or is it like the game or film or television?
Some game companies are known for themselves. Like they are not necessarily like everybody is known every product that they do, but they are fans of the company and the people in there. So that is also a possibility. If you're a production company and you do solid productions and people are expecting your next product, what is that? What is going to be, etc. So you can make that the fuzz about you also. It doesn't have to be about the product. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I totally get you. And Christelle, I want to ask you, how do you feel as a producer about Marcus' comment? Because there is this hardship with making a fuss about yourself as a company, because they tend to be so interested in the cast, directors, and so on. Or how do you think are the fans interested in the production company?
Of course, why not? If the company could bring up the interesting topics and be relevant in the society and in certain groups of people, so why not? It's a question of how active you are, how what kind of products do you produce, and how you actually listen and communicate with your potential audience, and how you bring your projects alive, and through which channels, and what kind of topics is the one which you like to talk about, and
do you let the fans come in and see what you are doing? Is there behind the scene material that you can share, and etc. etc.
Yeah.
And very underused opportunity, I think. Yeah. Engaging the fans in the process making.
Yeah, definitely. Because of course, when you're starting to produce the film, you definitely have to think about your audience already from the development stage. So that's when you are already starting to communicate and to at least to build some audience. Of course, after 5 years, that might be a bit different audience. But
yeah, but I'm thinking we get back to the thing that you're so close to your customers, which is so nice, because because you get that direct feedback, and you can
It's brutal.
yes.
Don't
Yeah,
be
no.
jealous.
Yeah, it's brutal, but you can use it in a positive way. Of course, it's
He failed again.
exactly.
yeah, but that's a big plus actually for a producer of thing, because you already know what is your weaknesses and how to improve it, and you can do these improvements during the process, not after. When the film is out, there is nothing actually you can do like anymore. So
that's not a rewarding spot to actually
be in. But we filmmakers, of course, we would like our audience to be involved, like the same as gamers, because we all are interested to create something meaningful, something relevant and something which resonates, and how it could better resonate if we cannot have this feedback.
Absolutely. Let's spend the last minutes before we wrap this podcast with investors' mind and the financing part. So very thoroughly and with great clarification opened the investor's mind and how it operates. Even it probably wasn't pleasing or flattering for a entrepreneur in the creative industry, but we needed to hear that also. What kind of thoughts do you have about that?
I personally have struggled with that topic for many years because we are in a creative industry and the investors doesn't necessarily understand the value in it. And also, how do we value ourselves? It's difficult when you don't have like so many things you can actually. How there is tangible assets. So I don't know. It was a reminder to me, and always good things to think. But at the same time, I felt sad because it's like, okay, will we ever find an investor who will love us just being us? You know.
The thing, I mean, what we're discussing also, especially if you compare the US to Europe, in the sense that in the US you have to have and provide a real revenue plan in another way. There is so much soft money and a lot of European, I'm not speaking for film perspective, you know, a lot of European companies live on that, you know, and I think there's a balance, you know, there's something freeing. I mean, is not, you don't maximize, is that what you discussed, scalability? I see that theory. But at the same time there is something freeing in order to be able to get soft money from the state to be able to create something that maybe you couldn't have done otherwise, you know. So it's like an independent, so it's twofold, you know, which I can like and dislike, you know.
Yeah. I come from the Sami background, so it is for me that we couldn't have done our first game, Skabma, without the public funding. And this, like, that EU and everyone wants to support minorities. So that is a huge amount of our kind of funding at the moment, the public funding.
But then also, of course, the investment relates to the money that you get back from the investments. That's how you have to see it when you're actually asking for an investment, you know. So I mean, like, of course, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but when you're asking, so how we felt during this session, then I should say, Terry, thank you very much, because for me it was actually kind of eyes-opening, because at the same time, we filmmakers, we have to think about the benefits we can get from the films. Because usually we have those traditional ways of thinking, so how we can get the revenue from the films, how we can benefit from our IPs. Yeah, and if you are starting to think more about from the investor's point of view, because you are investing your time in this, you are investing your money, and usually you are investing not only the public financing, but you are also investing your own money into each project you are doing. And from this point of view, you can really get out of it. You have to think out of the box, actually, to be kind of attractive to investors, and you can be, because we are in an entertainment business, so we will always be demanded in a market in a way. But if we just could a little bit change our mindset in this point and think more about really out of the box, so what additionally I can get out. How to do B2B and B2C.
Stop undervaluing yourself, because I do that constantly. I don't like, I'm just me and our company is just these and but come on, like, I don't know, take, as Terry said, like Americans, they put extra and they kind of like take something from there, because in Finland we are very modest and we are very like, no, don't mind us. Yeah, And it's bullshit because we can do, and we have like the capacity and the skills and all that. We are one of the best countries of gaming. So why do I feel so ashamed all about?
So our Latvian film got the nominations now for 2 categories. Flow.
Wonderful.
Yeah, today we heard the news. Flow,
Amazing.
which is totally for this small country, which we are 1.8 million people. So and we have 2 nominations. So which is the best animation film and the best international film. So we can if we want.
If you want to.
Respect.
Yeah, there's a way if there's the will. That was something that Natasha said many times during her session. I want to thank you. This was amazing conversation, and we truly will continue these conversations, and we will continue learning and growing. I'm so happy to have you on board, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.